coming in hot. Just like the fajita. I write what I live. My life in the speaker. I'm nice with the flow.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Black and White Radio on AM 560, 92.7 FM, and AM 1400. The Answer, Detroit, Michigan. No Kings, baby. Yeah, baby. We got our No Kings protests happening throughout the country. And Paul, I know Paul said he hadn't seen any of it. I did see it, and I don't even know where to begin with this No Kings. I did have a what's your name, but I can't get into my Gmail account. What the heck, Paul? I think I signed myself out of everything, Paul. I think I signed myself out of everything, and that's not cool. That's not cool. That's not good. Let's see if I can sign in, Paul. Please. There we go. I'm in. Yes, sir. I am in. I want to start. I think we need a reminder because I made a post about this whole No Kings thing on my Facebook. And, when people tell me what I can't say, what I can't do, you know what that makes me want to do? What they say I can't do, what they say I can't say. Because you telling me, I'm a little bit contrarian in a lot of ways. You tell me what I can't say, what I can't do. I'm actually gonna try to do it because you're telling me I can't do it. That's the reason why. Yeah. But I think sometimes we need a little reminder of No Kings and what it represented when we had to go through in COVID. And then I'm going to come back with a little monologue that I put together.
No Kings. Unless it was during the pandemic when all the mom and pop businesses were shut down, but the government said it was totally fine for all the major super rich corporations to continue operating. But I didn't really care because as long as I could get my Starbucks and go to Target, I was fine. No Kings. Except during the pandemic when we told people that they would lose their job unless they took a certain medical product, or they couldn't even go into certain restaurants without vaccine paperwork. That was crazy, but I didn't really care because I just complied. No Kings. Remember when we also told people that they had to not visit their loved ones that were sick and dying in the hospital, the elderly? They had to die alone. That was really sad. We shut down the schools, completely wrecked the developmental learning for a whole generation. I mean, that was tragic, but we don't really talk about that because that's over now. New outrage. No Kings. Remember when we were told over and over if we got that medical product, we for sure would not get sick. And even though the people that got it immediately did get sick, we were for sure told they wouldn't spread it. And then that gradually became, like 95%, like 75%. Okay, there's no evidence it does what we told everyone it does, but we've already made everyone take it that would anyway. And no one really cared because it's new outrage time. No Kings. And do you remember during that time, anyone who tried to bring attention to these issues on social media was censored or their account was banned? And limiting free speech at that time seemed okay to me. I didn't really think about it. No Kings. You don't hate authoritarianism. Mm-hmm. You just hate what you're told to hate by the algorithm and the news outlets. Be so for real. I just wish the anti-authoritarian energy was present during actual tyranny from both the federal and local governments during that time. But no, of course not. And it's not authoritarianism if the majority of the people voted for it, both popular vote and electoral votes. People wanted the border secure. So settle down and start thinking for yourself. Turn off the TikTok. It's going to be okay.
It's funny. I'm hearing this No Kings. I told you I want to put together something that I wrote because I really do think it's important. It's important because of what we had to deal with. It's funny how the same people shouting that now didn't mind when the real king showed up. I remember when governors acted like royalty. When they shut down your business with the stroke of a pen, when they told you who was essential and who wasn't, when pastors were fined for opening their churches, when cops were when cops were told to mask up and ticket people, when people were fired for refusing an injection. That wasn't freedom. That was control. And they called it compassion. They decided when you can leave your house, when your kids could learn, when you could bury your dead. They said, do this or else. That's not their love of democracy. That's a crown without accountability. And now those same voices calling Trump a king, that's rich. Because unlike them, he follows the law. He doesn't hide behind it. Every decision he makes sits on the foundation of the Constitution. Every executive order he signs traces back to an actual statute. Can they say the same? And when the courts rule against him, he complies, not because he has to, but because he respects the process. That's what leadership looks like. Compare that to the last crowd that ruled by proclamation. They didn't wait for debate. They didn't care what the law said. They decided you obey. They locked down cities. They weaponized agencies. They censored speech. And when they called it democracy, and then they called it democracy, they talk about unity, but only on their terms. They talk about freedom, but only if you agree with them. They spent years telling you to sit down, shut up, and follow the science, even when the science changed every 2 weeks. Trump didn't create that system. He exposed it. He's tearing down what they built. This is why you got to understand why they did not want him back. The unelected class, the faceless decision makers, the kings who never earned a crown. When he says law and order, he's not talking about control. He's talking about the right to work, to speak, to believe without needing permission from Washington or other elected or unelected bureaucrats. They call him dangerous because he reminds them what limited government actually looks like. Because when the law means something again, the people at the top lose the power they stole. This no king crowd says they want freedom. What they really want is control with a smile. They want rules without responsibility. They want to play emperor while pretending they're the resistance. You want to know the difference? When they lose in court, they rewrite the rules. When Trump loses in court, he respects the system and moves forward. That's not a king. That's a man who knows what law means. So before anyone lectures me about tyranny, remember who made the proclamations. Remember who destroyed small businesses, who silenced doctors, who told families they couldn't attend funerals. Trump isn't the one handing down decrees. He's the one undoing them. We're not the one bowing to kings. We're the ones standing up to them. They told us to stand 6 feet apart like that would save us. They taped arrows on grocery store floors so we'd march in circles like obedient cattle. They shut down weddings, funerals, and baptisms, but let mobs fill the street. You could buy your weed, you could buy your drink, but you couldn't go and bury your loved one. They made kids eat lunch behind plastic dividers and called it science. And we did it because we were told it was right. I didn't do none of that. That wasn't medicine, that was training. It was the conditioning of a free people to see authority as mercy. And the same people who demanded it now call their movement no kings. No kings, spare me. You let bureaucrats tell you how far to stand, what to inject, what to visit, what to believe. You cheered as police were ordered to ticket churchgoers sitting in their cars. You nodded when businesses were boarded up. You silenced anyone who questioned it, and now you want to talk about tyranny? You got candidates like Zohran Mamdani and Omar Fattah running around pretending to fight oppression while building a government that controls everything it touches. They want to nationalize housing, regulate speech, and punish dissent, but they post hashtags about freedom. That's not democracy, that's design. They scream no kings while drafting policies that would give Washington the power to decide what you drive, what you eat, how you heat your home, and what your kids learn. They don't want to end monarchy. They want to modernize it with themselves on the throne. Trump is the opposite of that. He isn't handing down decrees. He's tearing them out by the roots. He isn't creating new rules. He's ending the ones they buried us under. He's not silencing anyone. He's daring them to debate him in daylight. That's why they hate him, because every time he follows the law, they lose the power they stole through fear. Because every time he says America first, they hear the death of the globalist sermon they've been preaching for decades. They claim to want equality, but what they want is obedience. They claim to want justice, but they only deliver submission. They claim to fear kings, but they worship government. So no, this isn't about fairness. This is about survival. It's about whether the people still own their country, or if we hand it over to a class that hides its tyranny behind empathy and hashtags. The No Kings movement isn't rebellion, it's theater. Real rebellion is the single mother opening her business after the state shut her down. Real rebellion is the cop who kept his oath when the mayor told him to stand down. Real rebellion is the nurse who refused to take what her conscience couldn't accept. That's what freedom looks like. And let's talk about this claim when we get back, that Trump's use of the National Guard and ICE is proof of authoritarianism, because that's another lie. Black and Right. We'll be right back.
Bring the fire, but you never seen her. I testify, I don't need a subpoena. They want my soul, better go to Korea. I love my dog.
Welcome back to Black and Right. Paul, what's the name of my old YouTube channel? Because if you're listening to the show, YouTube restored my old YouTube channel. Is it Black and Right Radio 560 AM or AM 560? Black and Right Radio. Black and Right Radio 560. We're back up at Black and Right Radio 560 on YouTube. Imagine where we would be today if they had never shut me down. But I'm up on that on YouTube, so I got to sign out and come back. But I want to finish this. And I promise you, Marianne, Michael, Jim, Valon, I promise you I'm going to get to you guys. I haven't even given out the number and people are calling. I love you guys. I really do. But I just want to finish this because this is crucial. This is key. Because I'm simply going to tell you, the Democrat Party of today lies. They are a complete lie. They don't stand for anything that's American. And, I mean, it shows. Now, I really have to tackle this last part because I really do think it's important. I promise you I'm going to come straight to the phone lines. Now, let's talk about this claim that Trump's use of the National Guard and ICE is proof of authoritarianism. That's another lie. ICE doesn't have to conduct operations in the streets. It doesn't have to knock on doors at dawn. It can do its job quietly and safely in the courts, in the jails, through lawful detainers if states would simply cooperate. But places like here in Illinois won't, because of sanctuary policies and laws like the Trust Act. Our own law enforcement can't share information, can't honor detainers, can't let ICE do the job the law requires. So agents have to go into neighborhoods and workplaces to find people they already should have met in custody. And when that happens, the same politicians who caused the problem run to the cameras and call it cruelty. That's not oppression. That's obstruction. Trump's not militarizing the streets. And I dare any of you to call in to say it. He's cleaning up the mess they made by refusing to enforce the law. He sends the National Guard to protect federal officers and facilities from violence, not to terrorize families. He uses power to preserve order, not to destroy it. That's what the left can't stand. He proves that strength and legality can coexist, that compassion doesn't mean chaos, that justice doesn't require surrender. So to everyone chanting no kings, I've got news for you. We remember who ruled us last time. We remember the fear, the arrows, the empty classrooms, the glass between families. We remember who turned law into suggestion and power into privilege. And we're not doing it ever again. The age of fake kings is over. The age of accountable leadership has begun, and the people, not the politicians, will decide how this story ends. Because the story isn't over. We're still here. We're still standing. We've seen what happens when fear governs, and we've learned that courage is contagious. They can mock, they can march, they can scream no kings until their voices crack. But the truth is rising faster than their lies can cover it. America still belongs to the people. It still belongs to the builder, the nurse, the officer, the teacher, the father, the mother, the dreamer, the forgotten. It belongs to those who rise early, work hard, and refuse to kneel to men who call themselves masters. The light is coming back. The spine of this nation is still strong. And the fire that once made America free will not go out again. Because we are done bowing to crowns that never earned their thrones. We are done letting fear speak louder than faith. We are done letting kings rule a free people. The people will lead now. The people will build now. And by the grace of Almighty God, the people will rise again. And finally, to my Christian brothers and sisters, I'm speaking directly to you. Hear me. No kings mean just that, no kings. Yet you claim to serve the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. How can you chant no kings and still kneel before the cross? How can you stand in rallies that reject authority while claiming to follow the one who holds all authority in his hand? You cannot serve two masters. You cannot denounce kings and worship the eternal king. The world may reject him, but the church cannot join their chorus. If there was a time to stand apart, it is now. Because when the world says no kings, we say Christ reigns. When they bow to government, we bow to God. And when they call rebellion freedom, we call obedience liberty. So let them shout, let them rage, let them march. We will not curse our king. We will not silence our faith. And we will not surrender the crown that belongs only to Yeshua, Jesus Christ. Because there are no kings but one, and he still sits on the throne.